For full disclosure, the Nintendo Switch hardware and the Legend of Zelda game were both provided to me by Nintendo for review purposes, and this review will be spoiler-free, but due to the nature of the footage, expect some minor visual spoilers such as the different weapons and armor. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It is absolutely worth every bit of hype that it gets. You are going to lose your mind with how expansive this game truly is. It very much has its foundation from this series' history. You fight monsters, you go to dungeons, you solve puzzles, and you fight bosses. But what makes Breath of the Wild work so well is because, for the first time in decades, it removes so many staples that every previous game had, thus opening the game up for boundless possibilities. This is made clear the first few moments of playing, as Link approaches a cliffside and you see the massive world surrounding you, knowing that you can traverse every single foot of that terrain. And that's the one thing that every facet of this Zelda game is trying to drive into your mind. It's you alone in this world. Have at it. You're in it within minutes, immediately free to explore, discover, and wonder. It absolutely invokes that same feeling of absolute awe of when you were a child turning on the original Legend of Zelda for the first time, or Ocarina of Time if that was your first. Everything is designed to encourage your freedom and exploration. The world is massive and is packed densely with interesting landmarks, secrets, and monsters. And for the first time since Ocarina of Time, there is no companion character alongside Link pushing you in the direction you're supposed to go. It's just you, uninhibited, going wherever your sense of adventure desires. It's an incredible feeling to go where you want and feel like you're accomplishing something. Even if you're on the path to an important story quest, you'll see tons and tons of distractions worth your attention. And honestly, just do them. It's some of the most fun you'll have letting yourself get sidelined. And there's plenty of things to distract you with too. You'll have a multitude of special powers right at the beginning of the game, such as magnetism, time stasis, and the good old bombs. You'll find lots of places to use these abilities to discover treasure chests and shrines. Shrines are mini dungeons that are purely puzzle-based, usually revolving around a single concept, with a few of them being combat challenges. Some are simple and quick, others are quite involved and will require a healthy amount of logistics. They're all worth doing and provide an excellent break from the amount of combat in the overworld. Even the main dungeons themselves, which there are very few of, are focused entirely on puzzles, with a boss fight at the end of course. Thankfully, the lack of main dungeons in this game is made up for by the 100 or so shrine dungeons. And you'll be going through these shrines often enough that you're never doing just combat, and it never makes that feel tedious. When not exploring and solving puzzles, you'll be fighting stuff. And oddly, compared to the last several Zelda games, the combat has been greatly simplified. However, you have many more options than you ever did before. Every weapon has a basic combo swing, you can spin attack and do the leaping attack. Additional maneuvers are parrying with the shield to open up attack opportunities, or doing a perfect dodge to allow yourself to do a quick flurry of attacks in slow motion. Now at first this seems like a downgrade from all the different special attacks you could do in Wind Waker, or Twilight Princess, or Skyward Sword, or whatever. But it's not the fighting itself that gives you a great amount of variety. Rather, it's how you go about fighting things. There are numerous weapon types that all have different effects on different targets. You can use the physics engine to push and drop heavy objects onto monsters. You can come in from above and pull out your bow mid-air and slow time for a quick double damage headshot. Or you can sneak in and silently take out camps. It's the vast potential of how you can approach any situation that makes fighting fun rather than the numerous kinds of attacks. Fighting is also extremely rewarding in Breath of the Wild. Every enemy you kill drops any weapon or shield that they have, allowing you to use it immediately, and every single one drops monster parts that you can collect. You're in constant need of new weaponry since they break frequently, and you'll always be in need of monster parts thanks to the game's addicting cooking system. This is another small way the game encourages discovery. Grab a multitude of ingredients you've picked up in the world, from the forests, monsters, mining points, absolutely everywhere. The way you mix these together creates food to heal yourself up with, and with the right ingredients, you can boost yourself with different bonuses. These effects are things like increased attack power, increased maximum health, or cold resistance. One of the most addicting aspects I've had was just standing in front of a cooking pot and seeing what I could come up with. It's another way you're rewarded for exploration and combat by collecting these materials, finding new recipes, which power you up. At the end of the day though, Breath of the Wild is another open world game in a time that these are pretty frequent. Does it really do the genre that astoundingly well or better than other games out there? I spent a lot of time thinking about that, and my conclusion is absolutely yes. The world is so dense with things to do that you'll never get bored. Gathering ingredients to cook new recipes, fighting monsters to get new weapons and fight bigger monsters, shrines, treasure chests, all kinds of quests, and the main storyline. More importantly, the game gives you all the tools you need to freely explore. You can climb nearly any surface, and the paraglider allows you to quickly traverse places. The two brilliantly empower each other. You want to climb to paraglide out further, and you can use the paraglider to get to higher places to climb. And you can truly go anywhere right at the start of the game. It's clear that some areas are meant to be tackled before others, judging by the strength of the enemies and the equipment found there, but you can still go anywhere and use the different recipes you've discovered to make it feasible. This is the most free Zelda has been since the original. It's the constant gameplay loop of discovery, collecting, and rewards that makes this game so addicting. I truly could not put it down. It's not entirely flawless, as I do need to mention that the frame rate isn't perfect. It'll drop down to the low teens a little too frequently for my taste. You'll notice it the most when you're around a lot of tall grass, or if a lot of fire is on screen, or explosions. Weirdly, it seems to happen the most often in the opening plateau area, and happens far less once you leave it. But it'll still noticeably dip here and there. While it's certainly a grievance of mine, it isn't so bad that it completely hinders my experience with Breath of the Wild. Annoying, yes, but I enjoy the game too much to let something like that stop me from playing more. Any other complaints would simply be nitpicks. Like, I miss having heart pieces to collect, and some of the voice acting is just okay, though most of it is pretty great. It's simply the best version of Hyrule ever created. This is the most organic open world game I've ever played. It feels like an actual place rather than a center field that acts as a hub to jut off to important places. There are multiple cold areas, there are multiple hot areas, ruins, mountains, trees, lakes. Any building you go into doesn't have a load screen. NPCs have lives and schedules that they adhere to every day. And it finally struck me the importance of the game's subtitle, Breath of the Wild. It isn't us taking in a breath of the wild as we breathe it in through our mouths. Rather, it's the breadth of how massive the wilderness is, how expansive it is, and how you'll never tire of exploring it. I've been thinking this over quite a bit because I don't take this lightly. Zelda has gotten a lot of leniency in its past when some of its games got reviewed. I don't want to overpraise this game just because it's Zelda, like others have before. So I say the following with as much certainty as possible. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild earns a 10 out of 10. It's absolutely incredible. If you've never played a Legend of Zelda game before, this is the perfect one to start with. Do yourself a favor. Don't play with a guide at all. That elation that you feel whenever you discover something in this game should not be spoiled. And Zelda fan or not, you are in for an unparalleled treat in what is the largest, freest, densest, and yet most accessible Legend of Zelda game ever made.